Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Mac with IC Cup TV bringing you another game from the Global Gamers Invitational qualifying rounds. We are now in the round of 64, the second phase of this tournament. All these players have already defeated one opponent and they are now moving on. So this game between Stalife, the yellow Terran, and his opponent, the purple Terran, this is Jimmy. We are on Metalopolis. This is a best of 3 series, so this is game 1 of 3. And before I move on to the match, I just want to thank those sponsors once again, iFixit.com, Esports United, and the Handsome Nerd. All three of them generously donating, more or less in that order in terms of a monetary contribution. iFixit with $2,000 to the prize pool, some Intel processors and motherboards from Esports United, and a ton of t-shirts from the Handsome Nerd. So enough of that, let's get back to this match. It is currently tied in terms of worker count, and production pretty much the same. Both players building a lot of internal buildings. This is just so common in Terran versus Terran. A lot of concern about harassed by the minerals, so I suspect both supply depots are indeed close by. This gives a minor economic advantage, but also is good for walling off in certain situations. And currently not much going on. I know this is Jimmy, sort of unheard of, but he did beat his similarly non-pro opponent. Stalife cleaned up quite easily against his opponent in the last round, so neither of these guys have faced off against particularly good opponents. And Stalife himself, a very, very solid Terran player. I believe he won the IC Cup TV Challenge, or not the challenge, the other one. The ITL about a week ago, so he's a really good player. And it'll really be up to ThisIsJimmy to try and score an upset. We have seen a couple upsets so far, so pro players have been eliminated by non-pros. So maybe ThisIsJimmy will win it single-handedly with this one SCV, so we'll see how that goes. Both players look like they're taking the clockwise direction, so both will be arriving pretty soon to get a look at their opponent's base. Looking at the production tab, both players playing absolutely identical builds. A little bit of earlier gas from Stalife, which is, I'm surprised we haven't seen that coming out of his opponent quite yet, just because it is such a good idea to have extra gas. You really need it for Terran. Mech, Vikings, and Siege Tanks really just completely determine this game, and there is that factory for Siege Tanks. Looking at ThisIsJimmy's base, he is getting his own factory down a little bit behind, so he is not quite as efficient with his build as his opponent, but it's still far too early to suggest that anyone has a lead. Looks like both scouting SCVs have been killed. ThisIsJimmy, I take that back, ThisIsJimmy has retreated. He is holding on to this expansion. Maybe this SCV will find a use later in the game. No, he is moving out. Maybe he'll camp at a tower or something. Still not much new going on. We are getting a tech lab down here at the barracks, probably for a switch out. I wouldn't be surprised if that is destined for this factory. Yes, there is the liftoff, so we are going to be getting Siege Tanks early. That is in no way surprising for this matchup. And tech lab and reactor going down here. Probably just for Marines and Siege Tanks, a good early game combination. Still, and a starport is now coming down for Stalife, so he is quickly getting all the necessary tech. Vikings and Siege Tanks, really what he needs in Terran versus Terran. He definitely knows what he's doing. This is a very experienced player. And do we have Siege Tech? Not yet having Siege Tech. I suspect that this reactor here is intended for the starport for Vikings and Medivacs. You see, he is throwing up a bunker just because he's operating on only 2 Marines, so an early Marine push would actually cause Stalife a fair deal of trouble. So getting that minor wall off with the barracks and bunker, and soon he will have Siege Tanks. So he will be able to fend off any early push from his opponent. And ThisIsJimmy is moving out with 2 Marines. Those just have to be scouts. I can't imagine he's actually planning to attack with that. And continuing to rally Marines and Siege Tanks from his 2 production buildings. So both players pretty even at this point in time. A small harvester lead for ThisIsJimmy. The one thing he does not have at this point in time is the Vikings. Hasn't even started a starport yet. So a scan coming down to see what his opponent is up to. He sees exactly what I was talking about. ThisIsJimmy not operating off a starport. So as far as a Siege Tank duel is concerned, the Vikings will give longer sight to Stalife. And he's now pressing out with those 2 Vikings. Looks like he's just going to harass with them. I take it back. No, I don't take it back. He is not moving out with this defensive line. Just 2 Marines and 1 Siege Tank, so he is harassing with those Vikings. And unfortunately, they are going to meet these Marines. And fortunately, he was actively looking at these Vikings. Does not lose the one. early push coming out from ThisIsJimmy. I can't imagine that this is going to go very well for him. He does have a lot of Marines, but he'll have to scan to see this high ground, and with lots of Vikings to land in a pinch in a bunker, he will have a very, very hard time. And there's that first shot. Really, okay, did he cancel siege tech? Did I miss that? He did at one point cancel siege tech, so no siege tech for Stalife. He actually is in a bit of a spot, and if ThisIsJimmy had pressed his advantage at that moment and deployed a little bit closer here, he would have an opportunity to really siege his opponent's base. I can't believe he canceled that tech. That is such a strange decision. He is throwing down some anti-air units that his opponent I don't even think has a starport yet. He is building one, and 4 Vikings going to go harass. Lots of Marines waiting for them. And ThisIsJimmy actually looking pretty confident and secure right now. Does have a force camped out on his opponent's base, and he has this bunker to deny this fast expansion. So he will be able to expand relatively unharassed, and has set up a contain on this pro player. So we'll see what Stalife does to try and break this deadlock. Because at the moment, he is going to have a hard time moving out. Does have a strong force of Vikings, and dominating the air is key to winning the ground in this matchup, and he will be able to harass with those. That being said, he doesn't have that strong of a defensive force, and a aggressive push could have been successful. ThisIsJimmy instead opting for a contain, which I fear may have been a little bit too timid. He had an opportunity there, and it's now passed. 6 Vikings now scouting or going to harass. We'll see what they end up doing. We'll check back those in a second. Not any new tech. We do have a command center, probably going to float out here. No point in containing when Terran can just float to this island instead. And we do have some SCVs and an expansion going down for ThisIsJimmy. The Vikings have landed. There are no defenders. I take that back. There is 1 siege tank and tons of Marines. But he will be able to land several SCV kills before the reinforcements arrive. And nice harass there. Tons of SCVs lost. Looks like 9 SCVs were killed in that exchange. And nice decision there. Moving while the defenders are out of position. And he's going to land and get a few more kills before he has to retreat again. Looks like two SCVs lost and 1 Viking lost. So maybe that second one not quite so worth it. This is the one problem with setting up a contain, is that you really lose your mobility. He has laid down this bunker and he has these tanks sieged up, so his opponent not going to move out on the ground. But as we've already seen, this command center is going up. He will be able to expand, and he is considering moving out using this barracks rather as vision, and it looks like this contain is going to be shut down. He is wasting a scan. ThisIsJimmy wasting a scan to see these tanks, but they're not quite close enough yet. And because he does not have any air units here, Stalife will be able to slowly advance with his tanks and take out his opponents. Looking at his vision here, the tanks have to come to here to be shot at, and they can move to here and shoot without being shot back. I take that back. Apparently you can see a little bit further than I thought, but he is able to destroy one of those tanks in exchange for 2, so pressing out did not go so well there for Stalife. He was able to waste a couple scans from his opponent, so that at least went well. And it looks like he is going to be able to clear out this contain. Just not enough forces here to make a push, only to stay here, and because he's immobile, sooner or later he will lose because he does not have the initiative. That being said, this expansion is up for ThisIsJimmy. He is soon to pull ahead in the worker count, and not having any problems with diminishing returns because of that second base, and he has left a fair number of forces here in defense. So he's looking good. Oh, I'm missing this out. There is a press coming. These Vikings forced to fly away, and not enough siege tanks, looks like. Another scan thrown down to try and see these tanks, and Stalife looks like he's just going to roll right on by and see about pressuring his opponent's base. I really like that play. 1 almost dead siege tank and a few Marines will have a very, very hard time pressing out. And what is this? He's moving out. How many SCVs is that? That is 10, 11 SCVs. I guess they're going to this expansion, which has been